Four, three, two, one.
Studio Classroom is Please stand by. Studio Classroom is on the air.
Times be forgot and never brought to mind. Friends, welcome to Studio Classroom on the air. Your English will improve today, the last day of 2020. You can improve in a lot of things every day. My name is Gabe. And of course, yes, it is the end of the year. It's New Year's Eve. And what better way to bring in the new year than by making some changes, right? I mean, that's why there's such a thing as New Year's resolutions. People resolve to change something about themselves, or perhaps to have a new goal or big plan in life. The name of today's lesson is The Psychology of Change. Well, as we discussed yesterday, not all change is welcome, at least not right away. And there's a reason many people have a fear of change. Not to worry, friends. Today we'll discuss how we can overcome our fear of change. So by the end of our lesson, all fear will be gone. Right? Right. Let's get right into it. Oh my goodness, a cockroach. Okay.
The Psychology of Change. How we can overcome our fear of change. People have discovered that the key to overcoming the fear and anger associated with change is to be flexible. When they are flexible, people can adapt to new situations more easily. Being flexible is especially important in the 21st century as technology makes change occur faster than ever before. Those who oppose change, especially with technology in the workplace, may find themselves out of a job.
Hello everyone, welcome to Language Lab. I'm Jack. 今天第一个重点，我们来看 flexible 这个形容词。Flexible 是指灵活的或有弹性的。例如 Sean's working hours are very flexible. He can be with his family anytime. Sean 的工作时间非常有弹性，他可以随时跟家人在一起。或者是 A good manager needs to be flexible and open-minded. 一个好的经理人要很灵活，并且有开阔的心胸。Flexible 也可以指柔软的或可弯曲的。例如 certain exercises can help dancers become more flexible. 某些运动可以帮助舞者变得更有弹性。继续我们要看的是 oppose 这个动词。Oppose 是指反对。例如 The residents of the apartment opposed the plan to remodel the building. 这栋公寓的居民反对重新装修这栋公寓的计划。或者是The townspeople opposed the construction of a new community center. 镇民们反对修建一个新的社区活动中心。Oppose 后面也可以接动名词，例如 We strongly oppose shutting down the city library. 我们强烈的反对关闭市立的图书馆。
Thank you very much, Jack, and hello, everybody. I'm back today as we continue talking about change. My name is Rebecca.
Well, let's talk about how we can overcome our fear of change. We read here, people have discovered that the key to overcoming the fear and anger associated with change is to be flexible. Let's take a look at the idea of being flexible, even though you already talked about it in the language lab or learned about it. it kind of made me think of something else. That is, sometimes when we're asked to be flexible, I think, does that mean they want us to lower our standards? So if you're flexible, 你很弹性，对不对? You can just do a lot of different kinds of things. You don't have to stick to one strict way of doing something. But if you lower your standards, that means 你的标准降低了. It means you actually don't have very high standards. You're willing to do almost anything, and that's not a good thing.
That's right. And I think that you can be flexible and at the same time have standards so you don't lower your standards. For example, when I first started working here at Studio Classroom, I remember during my interview, the lady interviewing me asked me, Rebecca, are you flexible or can you be flexible? And I was like, of course I could be flexible. And I soon learned that working here at Studio Classroom, you have to be willing to try lots of new things and be flexible.
That's right. It requires flexibility. And I think in every aspect, but especially when it comes to articles and maybe writing articles and you know, that same person, she asked this question to almost everybody who interviews for the English department at Studio Classroom, because when we're writing something, we might think, oh, this is perfect, I want it just like this, but all of our articles have to go through a reviewing process or revising or proofreading. Things might change, so we need to be flexible. And of course, we need to be flexible in other areas as well because of changes.
Exactly. And so our lesson says when they are flexible, people can adapt to new situations more easily. And that is definitely the key. If you have a hard time adapting to new situations, you probably have a hard time being flexible.
That's right. So you could adapt to a new situation, and we were talking about lowering your standards earlier. Not every new situation is the best, okay? Maybe your country makes a decision and it's really not the best for your country. Yeah, you might be flexible, you have to live with that decision, but it might not be the best standard for your country or your company. But we continue here, being flexible is especially important in the 21st century as technology makes change occur faster than ever before.
And that's a phrase we want to talk about. Than ever before. What exactly does this mean, Gabe?
This means that it occurs faster than any time in history. So any time that we can think about in the past or in history, well, this is the fastest it's ever happened.
Exactly. Now, I remember when Facebook came out, when it first came out, I felt that Facebook made communication easier than ever before. Of course, you know, since Facebook has come out, there are a lot of other different platforms of communication. But at that time, Facebook made communication so much easier.
That's right. I like that you use a different adjective. You can use other adjectives there, okay? Easier than ever before, maybe more difficult than ever before. In our lessons talking about something that makes change occur faster or more frequently than ever before. Those who oppose change, remember that word protest from yesterday? You're kind of protesting or opposing something, especially with technology in the workplace, may find themselves out of a job.
And let's take a look at that phrase, out of a job. That cannot be a good thing.
Right. You're working and then something happens and you're no longer working for that company, and maybe you were fired, maybe you were laid off, you had to leave for some reason and you don't have another job. In that period of time, you could say you are out of a job.
Exactly. For example, during the Great Depression in the United States, a lot of people found themselves out of a job. It was a very, very difficult time for a lot of people.
Okay, so you could say that someone is out of work. They don't have a place where they can work and make money. And we usually use this phrase right after somebody is fired or let go from their company. Oh, now I'm out of a job and I have to do something about that. Well, we're going to continue learning about changes later, but right now it's time for us to see what we can learn about the status quo in
the Info Cloud.
Welcome to InfoCloud, friends. It's the last day of the year. Have you made any New Year's resolutions yet? Or are you planning to stick to the status quo?
What did you say, Anne-Marie? Is that word even English?
Oh, good ear, Rex. It's a borrowed word from Latin.
Right, now I remember. Status quo means the state in which things are or current condition.
Status quo is often used with the word maintain or keep. If you maintain the status quo, you don't change anything. You keep things the same.
But if you change or challenge the status quo, you can make a big difference in yourself, your community, or even the world.
For example, if a politician wants to challenge the status quo in regards to a certain policy, it means she wants to change it to make it better.
Although Sandra has always stayed up late to get her work done, she's decided to change the status quo and become an early bird this year.
Changes in life can be scary, but personally, I love to always be learning new things and growing as a person. Don't maintain the status quo. Push yourself this coming year.
今天要介绍的这个用语在国际政坛上经常出现，那就是 status quo， 意思就是现状。status quo 听起来不太像英文，没错，它是拉丁文的外来语。如果在新闻上听到 maintain the status quo， 那就是代表维持现状。challenge the status quo 就是挑战现状。还有 change the status quo 就是改变现状。不过 status quo 也可以用在日常生活中，例如 Sandra is changing the status quo by waking up early every day. Sandra 每天早起，希望改变她的现状，有可能是一直以来她是个夜猫子。这就是今天的 Info Cloud， 我们下次云端见。
Studio Classroom is on the air.
Well, friends, it's time for the last quiz of 2020. At least my quiz for you. I don't know if you have any more quizzes in school today, but here's a little quiz. We talked about a phrase earlier that means that somebody no longer has work. Perhaps they were fired. Something happened and they're no longer at their job. If you said the phrase, they're out of a job, you're correct. And if you cannot keep up with technological changes, you might be out of a job. Well, let's continue learning about change and why we should embrace it.
The psychology of change. When change comes, and you have no choice but to face it, embrace it. A positive attitude helps a lot. In fact, the change may turn out to be the best thing for you. That new job you got may end up being much better than your old one. You may make the best friends of your life in the new city you move to. Don't merely focus on how you feel about change. Instead, decide to accept the change. The change is the reality, and it's up to you whether the change will be a success or a failure. You never know. Your next change may be your life's Eiffel Tower.
.接下来我们要看 embrace 这个动词，在文章中 embrace 是有欣然接受的意思。例如 Philip's company is eager to embrace the latest AI technology and send him abroad for training. Philip 的公司迫不及待地采用最新的人工智慧的技术，并且送他出国去受训。它的另外一个意思是拥抱，例如Sarah's mom warmly embraced her when she came home for Christmas. Sarah 回家过圣诞节的时候，她妈妈热情地拥抱她。Embrace 也可以当名词，就是拥抱。例如 After a long day of work, Alan's wife welcomed him at the door with an embrace. Alan 辛苦工作一天后，他太太在门口用拥抱欢迎他。最后我们要看的是 merely 这个副词 ，merely 是指仅仅、不过、只是。例如 ，His salary is not merely enough to pay his bills。他的薪水连付账单都差得远。或者是 The couple wasn't fighting, they were merely communicating。这对夫妻不是在吵架，他们只是在沟通。或者是 I didn't say I like the girl, I merely met her once at a party。我没有说过我喜欢这个女生，我只有在一次的派对中见过这个女生一次。All right, let's get back to our teachers.
Thank you very much, Jack.
Yeah, I really appreciate that Jack didn't merely discuss the word merely, but also the word embrace.
Oh, yes, it's great. Jack, you always do such a good job.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we are going to continue talking about change. We read, when change comes and you have no choice but to face it, embrace it. And before we continue, we would like to take a look at that phrase, to have no choice but to do something.
That's right. Yesterday we learned a related phrase, you were given no choice. Well, here we see you have no choice except to do something. This means you have no power to make any other decision. You just have to do this one.
Exactly. For example, after the baby was born, Jill had no choice but to quit her job because she wanted to stay home and be with her baby.
All right. Well, some people have no choice but to do the thing they need to do right now. This phrase implies that you're really not happy with this choice or decision, but that you have to do it anyway. And our lesson says if you have no choice to do something, but to do something, that we should embrace that change. And I think usually this is a good idea when you embrace change. It's kind of like welcoming it warmly or happily or eagerly. It's usually a good idea to embrace change, but some changes really are just not good and maybe not positive. It won't make a positive difference in society. So maybe there are other things we can do to help change society.
That's right. Well, our lesson says a positive attitude helps a lot. In fact, the change may turn out to be the best thing for you. That new job you got may end up being much better than your old one. Sometimes when change happens, it's easy for us to look in the past and be like, oh, I wish I was still where I was at, or I wish this change didn't have to happen. But sometimes the change is actually much better.
That's right. And the change mentioned in our lesson has to do with a job, right? And that phrase end up, it ends up being much better. That means at first you're thinking, oh, it's going to be terrible. But after things happen, and in the end, it's better. That's when we use the phrase end up. It ended up okay, right? We read on here, you may make the best friends of your life in the new city you moved to. The idea is you didn't want to move at first, but you don't know the kinds of people that you're going to meet. Maybe you'll meet your best friend.
Exactly. We read, don't merely focus on how you feel about change. Instead, decide to accept the change. That's the key there. Embrace it, face it, accept it. The change is the reality, and it's up to you whether the change will be a success or a failure.
And just to review, it's up to you means it depends on you how you're going to react to this, what you're going to do with it. In English, sometimes we say when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Make something positive out of something negative, okay? We read on here, you never know, your next change may be your Eiffel Tower. Let's take a look at that phrase, you never know. You use this to say that something may or could possibly happen in the future.
That's right. For example, let's say that you're talking to an aspiring actor or actress and they're feeling a little discouraged because it seems like they're having a hard time making it into the acting world. You could say, you never know, your big break might be right around the corner.
All right, well, our article ends with this idea of the Eiffel Tower. It began with an Eiffel Tower. It ends with the Eiffel Tower. It seems like we have come full circle. That's a great phrase for you to know, too. If a story or a conversation has come full circle, that means it's kind of come back to the place where it began in some way.
That's right, and I think that that is actually a great way to write a story. You start out talking about something, and then when you get to the end of the story, you go back to where you started.
Well, friends, life can be difficult. It can be cold and gray. I think it's important for us to think of ways to make someone else's day. Let's enjoy that song. Make someone's day.
Make someone's day today.
In the little things that you do and say,
Life can be cold and gray,
but you will find the sunshine is here to stay when you
make someone's day.
write your friend a letter.
Write your friend a letter
When she's feeling blue.
when she's feeling blue.
Your brother's bike is wearing out,
Brother's bike is wearing out.
so buy him something new.
Buy him something new.
Bring hope and love to everyone around, even those who don't love you.
Wait, really?
It'll make a difference. Nobody's too young or old
Nobody's too young or old
to benefit from you.
to benefit from you.
It's always nice to know that someone's thinking about you.
Make someone's day today.
In the little things that you do and say,
Life can be cold and gray,
but you will find the sunshine is here to stay when you
make someone's day.
Yeah.
Make someone's day today.
In the little things that you do and say,
Life can be cold and gray,
but you will find the sunshine is here to stay.
make someone's day today.
In the little things that you do and say,
Life can be cold and gray,
but you will find the sunshine is here to stay when you
make someone's day.
Oh, that's a great song. We had a lot of fun with that one. So how can you make someone's day? You know, life can be difficult, especially when there are difficult changes, and not every change is easy to embrace, right? Well, speaking of changes, I'm not sure. Will we have some changes here at Studio Classroom in the new year? Maybe. You know, changes provide an opportunity for people to come together and help each other. So keep that in mind as we go into the new year, and we'll see you next year. Happy New Year! We'll see you next time right here on Studio Classroom. Goodbye.
A friend helps at all times. A friend trusts at all times. A good friend lasts a lifetime. A friend gives at all times. A friend cares at all times. A friend endures at all times. A good friend lasts a lifetime. I am so proud to have you in my life. A good friend lasts a lifetime.